Welcome. So, it's been a while, and today I'll take a look at OP03. Especially in, um, like, how do you say, in preparation for the upcoming pre-release event, right? I mean, it's still 20 days, but I mean, at some point you gotta look at it, right? So the thing is basically it's pretty simple. The way pre-releases work in general, I mean, I've played two pre-releases from the OP02, and I won one, and I trolled in the other. So, um, I mean, the one that I won, I played Kid and was like tryharding. Like everyone who really intends to win these things plays Kid, right? Um, and then the second one, I had uh, three Death Wings and one Hell's Judgment and a few small events. And so I was like, I already won one. I'm pretty sure I can do it with Purple Crocodile. And it was really close, actually. But Kid is just having two attacks that you cannot block while already having 4 life, anyways, is like playing 4 health leaders in pre-releases. It's trolling, okay? Like it's really trolling. You really need to have an insanely good stacked deck to make that work. It can work though. Like if you have a bunch of blockers and tons of events, go for it. So the thing is, there are usually some key cards. Um, I'm a little how do you say? Yeah, I'm a little sick again, or still, I don't even know. So I'm sorry for the weird sounds I'm making. So there are a few key cards in every set that you need to take into consideration, right? When preparing for this thing, these kind of events. One is obviously like the super high cost, super high impact cards. Like in the last set, it was Odin and Whitebeard to some degree, and also events like Hell's Judgment, which was insanely powerful in the pre-release. Like if you happen to have two Hell's Judgment, whew, you got a pretty good shot at winning the whole thing, just because their card's so good. Um, Same goes to the Odin. Like if you have two Odins or even one Odin and you can pull it a few times, like when that thing enters the board, that's pretty rough. Um, Another thing is the value of blockers is insane in this setup. Um, Simply because depending on the set, there is not too much removal. Like in OP02, there wasn't really too much removal. Like sure, if your opponent had a Vista, that was really bad. But other than that, like there wasn't too much. Sure, sometimes they would have the Yamato forecast that would rest them, but that's still just a rest, so the blocker is kind of still a blocker, and you know how it goes, right? So yeah, direct removal was pretty rare, and also rush was pretty rare. So you could plan things out a little better because you knew that you would not get like rushed down. So that was pretty good in that setup. I'm actually not sure how these cards work and what they do. I've played some yellow, but I have no idea like what cards we're getting. So the first things that I always do when looking at the cards that come out is I take a look at the events because I'm a crocodile main and I love events. So really curious to see what we get. And I mean, we first have that event. We can basically already count that out because no, we shouldn't count that out. I mean, if you happen to draw the ace and you happen to draw that card, yeah, you can go for it, right? Because the card's like absolutely insane. But in every other situation, like it's just a dead card. Um, Killing an 8,000 or less power, that's rough. Then we got the 2k main and counter, minus 4,000 power. That's rough, and you can choose when you want to do it. So I can already tell after looking at two cards that this set is going to be more difficult to play. Um, than the last one, the pre-release, because like minus 4,000 power, even though it's only characters, it's okay. It's at least it's only characters, which means it's still kind of useless against Kid. So if he wants to rush you down, he will still do that. Then we got this one. You can drop an event. Maybe these cards have insane synergy with Purple Crocodile, right? Holy shit. Maybe, like I play 2 of them again. Maybe if I happen to draw a lot of events, I will just go for Crocodile again one time. A character with 5,000 power and a character with 4,000 power. Damn it. That's really insane. It's really good. And then you got your leader gains 4,000 power in this turn. That's okay-ish, right? Oh wait, it is in main. Oh, what the hell? That's stupid, right? Yeah, I mean, even if you're playing Kid and you're using that, like, what the hell? Like, Kid is just going to run over everything again. It's stupid. Okay, so this is the events for red. They are insane. Then we got the events for blue. I already know those. Those are pretty bad. But I mean, if you happen to draw to have a lot of them, the problem with that is trashing cards on top of your deck. But since it is written that you may trash the top cards of your deck, I'm pretty sure that you don't have to do it, which means it's a 1 Dawn, 2,000 power, draw card, if you're playing Crocodile, that is. So that's actually not bad. This one is a little bad because it drops you a card. You have to drop a card in order to use it, which is something that you don't want to do in this format where you're basically only having 1k counters, right? The most cards that you play are 1k counter, which means your starting hand is most likely 4 1k counters, maybe a 2k counter, maybe even a brick, I don't know, something like that. So dropping a card means you won't have any counters. I mean, it's pretty stupid, or it's pretty difficult in general already, simply because 7k attacks will almost always go through if you don't have a 2k counter, because you cannot afford to drop 3 cards. Things look a little different with all the insane 1-cost events, though, since they are basically 2k counters, which is decent. I mean, 3 Dawn to draw a card is probably not gonna see play, but it might actually be good. And the 4-cost, put something on the bottom of the deck is actually decent. I think it's okay-ish. I mean, with Crocodile, it would be 1 Dawn attach, 4 put under the deck, so you use 5 basically. You draw a card, and if you have already established your board, things are gonna go pretty smooth. If you don't have anything, you're gonna want to play it probably. But yeah, that's okay. It's okay-ish. Then we got black. Oh no, we got purple first. And we have that card. That actually triggered me a little, because that's literally the same card as Gum Gum Rain, just with a better trigger, because it lets you ramp, which means for Purple Crocodile generally, it's going to be my go-to card for the 0-cost 3,000 drop a card cards. Simply because, yeah, in the trigger case, it can ramp me up, which the Gatling cannot do. Gatling bounces a 1-drop or a 2-drop, which is pretty useless. Like, I'm never using that. So this card's okay-ish, but it takes up a slot that could be an actually good event. On the other side, like, purple really needs a card like that, because in my Magellan deck, where I'm playing 12 or 15 brick cards, having a card that gives me counter to when I'm drawing brick is actually pretty good. Like, I think it's okay. I don't know, in the pre-release setup though, it's the same again. You drop a card for 3,000 counter. I don't think that's really good, so I'm probably not gonna play it if I draw it. Then we got this. That's basically just useless because your leader needs to be a Water 7 type. You're not going to play Iceberg. Definitely not. Like, if you're playing Iceberg against Kid in that meta, you troll in. So I mean, I could have made a tier list of like leaders that you should play in the setup, but it's so obvious, okay? You're going to play Kid. Nothing at all. Nothing's better than Kid. His leader ability is just way too strong. I mean, I've seen the Ace cards now, and I think Ace might be okay-ish. I mean, Zoro saw some play as well, but Kid is just like so much better than Zoro. Sure, with Zoro you can play all the one drops. We will look at them in a second. If there are a lot of cards that are one or two drop that search you something that can reliably search in a case where your deck is so limited, then Zoro might be okay, but he's never going to be better than Kid because Kid is so freaking strong. Like 2 attacks, 12k, and your deck consists of 1k counters. Like, you dead. You will never counter out of that. You can't. You cannot. So Kid is just the obvious choice. -2 Dawn, bottom deck a forecast. Atrocious card. I think it's absolutely bad. Since you have no way of ramping reliably, and -2 Dawn is just very, 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 very bad. I don't think this is gonna see some play. Or I wouldn't play that. So then we got the black cards, which apparently did not get any event. I mean, that's okay. They got a lot of events in the first set. Oh no, they were all starter deck events. So yeah, whatever. And then we got... Oh wait, no. Here are the events. They are just a little mixed up. So we got, if your leader is the CP type, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, play 1 character with a cost of 5 or less with CP in its type. I'll put the rest to trash. That hurts. I don't know if you really wanna put stuff into the trash in this format, because you're only playing 40 cards, and if you put stuff into the trash, that hurts, right? I mean, imagine you're having like the Katakuri or whatever. I'm just seeing it right now. You have the Katakuri in your deck, and you're like, damn, I just need that card. You play the door thing, and you don't just bottom deck it, but you trash it, and like he's maybe your biggest threat. I don't know. That sucks. So yeah, I'm not sure. If you have pulled like a million CP cards, like your deck is stacked with CP and you're not playing anything else anyways, then you might go for it. Why not? Then we got the sheep thing. Give up to 2 of your opponent characters -2 cost. Yeah, well, that's pretty useless as well. Unless you're playing black. KO 1 of your opponent characters with a cost of 0. Or a stage with 3 or less. That's pretty useless as well. I mean, if you're playing black, and like all those things have synergy, obviously, so that if you're drawing CP only and you have Lucci, you might go for it. Other than that, oh, another 0 plus 3000. What the hell? Everyone gets those now. The 6 King Pistol. Our 6 King Pistol is such a good... I love that art, I love everything about it, but it should not be a 0 cost 3000 plus, right? I mean, it should be something impactful. It should destroy something. That's what I'm feeling. 3000 in this battle. I mean, okay, whatever. So those cards are pretty bad. I wouldn't recommend playing any of those. And then we got the Ikoku's Sovereignty. That card is insane. Like, 2 Dawn plus 5000 is nuts. Like, and an insane trigger as well. So yeah, I would put that in my deck, definitely. Then the Moichi. That card is a little tricky because you need to have less life than your opponent in order to make it work, which means if you're playing Crocodile, if you decide to play Crocodile, it's a 3 Dawn, destroy 4 drop, draw a card. That's pretty good. And you will be lower than the opponent. So I think it might be a decent card. The play 1 character with a cost of 4 less with trigger from your hand is going to be pretty useless unless you're like, maybe there are enough trigger cards. I don't know. It really depends on whether you draw enough trigger cards. Maybe it's just an insane card. 4 more life cards. Place 1 card from the top of your opponent's life area into the trash. I think that's too niche. you would, I think you cannot afford wasting 3 Dawn, because 3 Dawn is a 3 Dawn 5000, which means it's a 1 attack, which means it's at least 1 card. And in a meta or in a setup where every card matters so hard, so much, wasting a character's lot is rough. This one's pretty good as well. If you manage to somehow get it into your life, it's insane. If you have to trash a life for it, it really depends, right? If they have something like insanely strong on the board, like a cracker or something, it might even be worth wasting a life to destroy him. But generally, I probably wouldn't do it. Unless you're obviously having like super stacked yellow cards and you know like you're going to get the life back. Then it's a good card, right? So event wise, it's pretty underwhelming. I think the blue ones are actually the best, and obviously the red ones, which are like completely busted. I have no idea how these cards are actually supposed to be balanced, because I mean, red is an aggressive deck with an aggressive playstyle. Why the hell does it have so much removal and so cheap, right? Like it's 3 Dawn, remove a 5 and a 4 cost, a 5000 and a 4000 power. What the hell? I think that's pretty good, pretty strong. And giving your leader plus 4000 and double attack and 3000 as well. What the hell? Like, what's going on? That's so strong. And removal and attack buff. That's rough. That's rough. Okay. That's rough. So let's look at the cards. I mean, every card that has a counter is already very valuable, right? Like, we love counter cards because it's the only way we have to defend ourselves. So let me check out how many blockers we have first. Can we choose blockers and OP03? Ah, we can do it. Oh no, we cannot do it. It didn't really Okay, so this is a blocker. We have Fossa and Odyssey. So these are 2 blockers that we could pull from the set. Then in green we got the Pearl. Okay, so that's 3 blockers we got in that set. Oh, blue gets 2 as well. Okay, so we are on 5. 5 blockers. They get 2 blockers as well. 3 Dawn for 2000 is really bad though. Let's see how much removal they got, okay? So, what were you? 5, right? 7 blockers. Purple doesn't get any, but that's okay because purple already has so many. Oh no, never mind. They are purple. What am I talking about? Then we got black. Black gets the not removable one. That's pretty good, obviously. Hey, Bruno is also a blocker. Oh, pretty good actually. That's a really good card. So we're on 9. And then yellow gets 2 as well. 3 as well. Oh no, that's starter deck. Okay. So yeah, we are on 11, right? 11 blockers. That's a lot. That's a lot of blockers. So if you happen to like just draw blockers like crazy, you should definitely include them, right? I mean, there is a pretty high chance that you're getting those blockers. And in the first set it was pretty, in the second set it was pretty difficult because you had a lot of rares that were blockers. For example, the blue blockers that were the 4 cost 5000 ones, which means they take obviously a spot away that you usually want to cross your fingers to have like a insane high impact card, right? Like I don't know, like this marker or whatever. And if that gets taken by a blocker, it's kind of a bummer, right? And on the other side, you had like the 7 cost Luffy, which was insane. That also filled the spot, but you had also a lot of small blockers even though most of the blockers were actually just like the four cost 5,000 ones, which you don't really want to use to block. You prefer blocking with a small fry, and you have a lot of a high chance to get those. And if you pair that with the kid, you're just always going to end up winning, right? If you have a board full of blockers and you can just go face with your leader every time, there's no way the opponent's going to survive that. And it's very unlikely that if they play kid or another leader that doesn't synergize with events too well, that they are going to stack loads of these events, right? Because if you're not playing Crocodile, and this is just a 1k, like a 2k counter that costs you a Dawn. So yeah, I don't think people are going to stack those events. At least that's not what they did in the second set. Okay, so we got the blockers out of the way. Let's try on play. Can we find out something? Okay, so they don't have on play in the searchable thingy. That's really sad because on play effects are insanely good. Let's check out, like, this is a searcher, obviously. Like, if you're having a lot of stuff that you can search, go for it. Synergizes well with Zoro, obviously, so having small stuff is always really good with that. Vanillas are very, very good in that set, or in that. Why do I keep messing that up? I'm always talking about the same in this play style, whatever. Pre-release setting. That's what I'm searching for. In the setting of a pre-release, because they are just high power, right? Since there is so little removal, having high power cards is just like good. And since there are so little counters, having high power cards is like so good. So high power cards win, especially if you have to contest the board. Having high power cards that beat high power cards is really good. So high power cards are really good. Vanillas specifically because they are cheap and high power. And that means mostly like 3 Dawn 5000s because they can attack without having to use any resources, and 4 cost 6000 and 5 cost 7000. Like, those are really, really good. I think I've even played some of the 6 Dawn 8000 Mihawks because they will basically not get removed, because the investment that the opponent has to do to remove that is basically 10,000, which means 5 Dawn. And if you happen to counter that, it's basically game over for them. Like, they will not come back from that. So they will most likely not even try to remove that, but just clear your small stuff and go face. And that's basically where some kind of base race begins that you're never going to lose, because you had the big brain and you went for Kid instead of Zoro, and you can attack 3 times next turn with like 10,000 and they like die. That's that. Of course, Kid is not like impossible to beat. Like, if you're stacking blockers, a double attack Kid doesn't do anything, obviously. But there is also a very tricky thing in this set, and that is obviously stuff like Marco, that on play destroys 3000 power, which means blockers, but he is a rare, which means there will not be too many Marcos. So playing around that doesn't really like work. If he has him, then your blocker is gone. But the chances are slim. And then we have the green archetype, which is known to like rest stuff, a lot of on-play effects, but the thing is, it has the restriction that it is only East Blue, which means if you want to abuse this, which is absolutely abusable because it's really, really good in this meta, where people play a lot of vanillas and people play a lot of, like, every 4 cost 6000 vanilla is easily removed by these things, right? By these green cards. So if you happen to pull a Kuro, it might actually be worth playing him over Kid, because he's basically Kid. It's a little harder to activate it because you have to rest your own cards, which you don't really want to do because you're wasting attacks. But I mean, it can be done, right? If you're drawing a lot of Namis and you have like a lot of searches and stuff that you're not using to attack anyways. I mean, even the fish guy here, it's a 4 Dawn 3000 KO 4 drop. I mean, you can use that card, play it to kill a 4-cost vanilla. You got a 3-drop on the board, and next turn you can rest him to maybe double attack with the Kuro, right? So it's not entirely dead, but the problem with that playstyle is, I mean, while it works really good against cards that play a lot of small stuff, it will fail you against decks that play a lot of big cards, like all the yellow cards, all the big black cards, like Isho and Katakuri and the 10-drop mom. All those cards, they will just bypass you. But all those cards, yet again, are rare cards or secret rare cards. So the probability that your opponent has those cards is not very high, which means the green cards with the 4-cost removal, especially like Don Creek, 6 Don, 7k, trash a card, kill 2 4-cost characters, and has double attack. Like, this card is insanely powerful in a meta where like so many cards are like 3-cost vanillas, 4-cost vanillas, these 4-cost banish cards that are really powerful. Yeah, the purple cards with 5 obviously would survive that, but playing those is not really cost efficient because they don't do anything if you're not playing Iceberg. So I expect to see less of those and more of vanillas. And yeah, against vanillas, like green and especially like Dawn Creek is really, really good. I didn't even look at the green cards when going through the events, right? But like setting up a Kuro, obviously useless. Rest a East Blue character to KO one of your opponent's rested characters is too specific. I think it's too specific. Rest 2 blockers. Oh, that might actually be an insane card. That might be an insane finisher, actually. Oh boy. Is it? It is a rare though. Okay, it is rare. So seeing this one is not going to be very likely, because that card is insanely powerful. If you draw 2 of those, poof, I would include them, probably. Maybe not 2. Yeah, I would include 2. I mean, if you can drop them for the kid leader ability in worst case, I would definitely include 2, just to get rid of the blockers and finish the game. Like, it's insanely good card. Holy shit. For the pre-release, that is. I don't know how the meta is going to shape out, but for the pre-release, it's really, really good. Don Creek is very good pre-release wise. So yeah, on play effect wise, set up a character, rest a character. It's decent. I think it's a decent card. East Blue again. So in conjunction with the Dawn Creek. No counter cards though, so you gotta be careful with that. This one summons a Butchie. Butchie is this guy. Oh damn, that's really tempo heavy. If you happen to have that in hand, you can tempo really hard. But like likeliness again. Like if you draw combination cards, like 2 of those, include them, sure. But the chances are very slim. So standalone cards that are vanilla are probably just the best that you can do. High impact cards like Sogeking, obviously, especially if you pull the manga version, you obviously play it and flex on your opponents. Return a character with 6, draw 2 cards, and you got a 6k buddy on board. Like, it's very, very tempo heavy, and it also has a counter in worst case scenario, so insanely good card. So you want to play around those things. Put in all the big beefy guys, put in all the small blockers, put in 2k counters, and as many on-play effects that are like, oh, what is D? Oh, he's a rusher. You can drop a card and rush. I don't think that's it's too specific. I don't know, because if you break with this card, that really sucks. And if you have it and you have to drop a 5-drop and you're not going to play the Galleria cards, are there many 5-drops? Not too many that you want to drop, right? Nah, not really. 5-drop vanilla, obviously. Way too good. Yeah, like you would never drop this to play Luffy with Rush. I don't think that's an option. Like you would just play this. You would include this instead of this, like if you have the chance. Yeah, I think that's that, right? I'm not really seeing a whole lot of on-play effects. Sure, we got this summon something. These cards can bounce something. Um, we have Usopp, who is a rush. Oh, wait, we have a rush card, actually. We have the Luffy and we have the Usopp. So, yet again, rare. Both of them are rare, though. Oh, is he common or is he rare? No, he's a rare. And he's a super rare, actually. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the it is possible that you get that the opponent plays a rush unit, but it is very unlikely again, which means playing around it is you should keep it in mind, but you should never like play around getting rushed, right? Like that's too specific, and you would handicap yourself doing that. So let me just recollect that. I mean, obviously, okay, let's talk about yellow as well, because the yellow cards are obviously very powerful. Like if you get Karakuri, you use him to put stuff back into your life. Way too good. If you have the 10 drop Big Mom, that's halfway win already, because you just basically need to counter out. You put in every 2k counter that you get, you put in every blocker that you get. You might even put in some events just to stay alive, and then you just play Big Mom and you win the game. Um, the, especially with cards like Usopp, and who else do we have that lets you draw cards? Do we have anything that lets you draw cards? No, it doesn't look like it. Ah, this one. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could stack a deck a little bit. Oh, Khalifa actually does that, but you wouldn't want to play her because she's a 2k counter. Yeah. So you're basically stacking 2k counters. You're basically stacking the obviously big threats that you're pulling, like Marco, um, Don Creek, Katakuri, Big Mom, those cards. And then you need to carefully watch and remember the events, okay? If your opponent leaves open 2 Dawn, you need to remember that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that he could potentially play, okay? So you basically need to play around the 4k counter thing. Or you need to at least respect it. In the last set, it was really, really, really easy to do that because there was only one card, and that was the Hell's Judgment. So when your opponent leaves 2 Dawn open, you know 100% that he has that. Because if he didn't have that, he wouldn't leave the Dawn open. Because in that bluffing, in that setting, is absolutely useless, or it was in that set, because like literally the only 2k card, 2-drop card was Hell's Judgment. So you knew that, and you could play around that by easily just attaching a Dawn more than usually, and he has to like still drop a card. So that was easily played around. This time it's a little difficult because if you want to go for the finish and he has 2 Dawn open and he minus 4,000 powers you in this turn, and suddenly your kid is not 10,000 but only 6, and it's suddenly not worth it attaching or dropping a card and resting him and attacking a second time, restanding him, that's what I mean, then you lose, right? So playing around these cards, knowing these cards and what they do, is absolutely important. Especially like this card is uncommon. Like you could have 3 or 4 of those, like Deathwing. In the last set, if your opponent leaves open 3 Dawn, you know it's either Onigiri or Deathwing, and you know what these cards do because there were so little of them, right? It had to be Deathwing, Onigiri, and basically Hell's Judgment. Those were the only good or played counter cards. Sure, I played the 1-drop black event from Borsalino, I don't even know what it's called, that makes a character immortal for 1 battle, unKOable. if you drop a card. So that happens, and it's okay. But you don't need to play around that. Like if he has it on open, maybe he plays some weird shit. But in this, I mean, right now, one Dawn would even be a 2k counter, right? One Dawn is a 2k counter, easy. One Dawn could be a 4k counter, so you need to think about that. And also, you have the addition of the 2 zero cost cards, which were not a thing last time around. I mean, yeah, you had the Gum Rain actually, but you just like the odds are increasing like by a lot if you have 2 more cards, because every rare that he gets has double the chance, obviously, to be one of the zero cost 3000 cards, which means you just need to think a little bit about what your opponent could have in hand and what the events actually do, right? I think knowing the events is a big key to winning. Another big key, my hidden sauce, my hidden strategy, I don't even know if this video makes sense, but my hidden strategy that I'm using is I will never attack first with my minions. I will build up the board, I will hit them, I will let their board attack me, and I will use my board to clear out their board. Then I win. I automatically win the game. If they fall for that, the game's over right away. So that's a thing. And other than that, other than taking care that you're having all the 2k counters that you drew, having blockers that you drew, and knowing the events that can be played, it's basically up to luck, right? It's just luck. If you draw a Katakuri and a Big Mom, you had luck. You were really lucky. You got good packs. Now it's up to you to follow these very, very easy, simple steps and take care that you're not falling for any stupid tricks, right? If he has 3 cards in hand and 1 Dawn open, there is nothing holding you back from just hitting him with 5. If he needs to play an Ikoku Sovereignty, whatever, man. What? Ikoku Sovereignty. Whatever. If he has to use that to block a 5k attack, oh, he's going to be so salty, right? So, going wide, like having searches, if you can search something in your deck, like if you're drawing a lot of yellow cards and you have a pudding, go for it. Go for the pudding, put it on the board, put her up to 5, go face, and if he has to use one of his insanely good events to block that, like that's going to hurt. Just don't make the mistake of going in with 7, like attaching 2 Dawn when he has 2 Dawn open. That would be really, really bad, right? Like, that would be really, really bad. Even though that's pretty specific, because sometimes it wouldn't be bad, because if he's just bluffing, which is a thing, then by attaching the 2 Dawns, you find out that he's bluffing, and then you can just finish him, obviously. But it's very situational, like everything in One Piece. It's a little bit of gut feeling, but like the general idea, some cards have high power, some cards have low power. One example, Cracker, insanely high power card because double attack is very valuable. The Zebra, Mino Zebra, is insanely powerful. Like, I've used the Mini Koala in the last set. I had 2 of those, and those cards were key win conditions to winning the game, because a double attack, the opponent cannot afford to take 2 lives, which means if you put on the Mini Koala and you attack with 7, he needs to drop a 2k counter and a 1k counter, or 3 1k counters. And he's going to do that because he cannot afford taking the lives. Because if he takes the lives, you're just going to take 2 more or 1 more, and you're going to start hitting face with your leader. And the game's over. He just got snowballed. And it's basically the same with the Mino Zebra, because if you go in with 7, he needs to drop 2 cards, or he sacrifices the top cards of his life. And that's both really bad. So he's probably just going to drop 2 cards and save the life, because then he can have 1 more life, which means he can take 1 more life, but which results in him already having, instead of 5 cards, only 3, which means 3 1K counters, most likely. So yeah, that's the thing. Cards that do banish, cards that do double attack, very, very impactful. We even have one more, right? This guy, Kaku. Insanely high power card, right? If you play Zebra and Kaku, if you pull those two, those are just rares, commons, right? Uncommon even. Kaku is uncommon, and Zebra is a common. So if you pull those, maybe multiple times, then you've got a big advantage over everyone else, because they need to react to that. They cannot afford to take a life. They cannot afford to build hand. They need to react to that, and they need to clear them out. And yeah, clearing Kaku out is obviously a little bit more difficult than clearing out the Zebra, because he's only 5. But if you have Kaku and maybe even one of those insanely powerful events, especially like the Crossfire, they will never get rid of the Kaku, right? And you can take the -1 Dawn tempo loss for the tempo that it gives you. Insane. And then yeah, obviously cards that bounce you stuff, like the chef dude, bouncing a 3-drop would mean bouncing a 3 Dawn 5000 vanilla, which are going to be played a lot, believe me, trust me in that. So bouncing every card that gives you tempo over the opponent is really good. That's basically that. I think Isho actually isn't even that good. I mean, it's a very powerful card with 8 Dawn 9000, but it's very, very unlikely that your opponent is ever going to have more than 6 cards. Because in this setting, you're trading all day long, and all the cards are like flying around, and you're almost always around 5 or 4 or even lower cards, because you need to protect your board. It's so important. Board state is so important. And once your opponent falls to 0, to 1 or 0 lives, you just slam them face with your leader. If you have 5 life, your opponent has 3, you can already start. You can already start just swinging face, because you are going to win this. In terms of characters, I mean, if you pull Katakuri, he might be worth playing as well, because it's a 7k attack every single time, and you can look at the top of your life. So if you played thousands of triggers, which is possible because like you have a lot of trigger cards in this set. Does any one of those have trigger? No. Okay, blue doesn't have a lot of triggers. This doesn't have a lot of triggers. Wait, we don't have a lot of triggers. What's going on? Where are the trigger cards? So, okay, it's basically only yellow, which has a few triggers. But I mean, if you're pulling a lot of triggers, go for it, right? You can run Katakuri, and you can go for it. And you can see what the opponent draws, which is pretty important, because if you're playing against a kid, and you know 5 out of 5 cards that he's playing, that's really good. You know, he drew a 1k counter. That's really good. So you might make that work. If you're going 7 face every time, I mean, he's only going to stand for like 5 rounds, right? And on top of that, you're also playing minions. So very, very cost efficient, very good leader. So I would be really pleased if people started playing other stuff than Kid. I mean, Lucci, yeah, in combination with the other black cards, probably not going to see any play. I mean, the CP9, yeah, if you're having a lot of cards, maybe it works, but discarding 2 cards from your hand, I think that's really rough in a setting where you don't have too many hand cards. But it might work if you're really lucky. Iceberg obviously troll, Nami troll as well, because you're not going to deck out. Simply because you don't have enough card draw. The only card draw that you have is basically this, and you will maximum like top and only one of those Usops if you're really insanely lucky, and maybe you got 3 of those, but these cards don't do anything for you actually, which means yeah, decking out is really rough, even if you have 10 less cards in the deck. I mean, you have 10 less cards in the deck. I mean, if you if you pull this, it's a rare. It's a rare. If you have one of those, you have one of those. Maybe one of those. And Chef Koch, those are all rares. Like, that's really rare. Like, in theory, if you have a really insane draw luck, you could make Nami work. But most of the time, I'm pretty sure that you are not going to have the cards necessary because all of those are rares or secret rares, and having the rares only like 6 packs, and you have like, I don't know, 12 or 6 or whatever blue rare cards is it's very unlikely. But if you are the lucky dude that has it, man, go for it. Like Nami could, you can deck out if you have all the blue cards. So that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's that. I think that's pretty much what I'm thinking, how I prepare for these. I'm mostly like looking at events and high power cards, stuff that does something on play and when attacking, obviously, because when attacking effects are also pretty mean sometimes. Like, this dude just, your opponent cannot activate a blocker, that's okay. But it could be pretty sneaky as well, like sneaking out wins. And yeah, I mean, take a look at things, look what you get. Um, remember all the insanely good events, maybe even some triggers. Playing around triggers is basically just in this set remembering that on attack they could potentially play 4-drop. But if that happens, so be it, right? I mean, you cannot play around that unless you're like Katakuri looking at the life, because you need to attack. And like if they have an event that triggers, then so be it. And yeah, I encourage everyone to just play Crocodile because event heavy deck, it can be very event heavy. So maybe if someone wins with Crocodile, let me know, man. Just let me know. I would be so pleased. Show me what you got. Show me how you did it. Maybe you do stuff differently than I do. That's very possible, because I'm not like Jesus. I don't know. I don't know everything. I'm not like the card god dude. I'm just some random player that happened to play 2 pre-releases, and that's what I'm thinking about the game. Like nothing that I say is like the only truth, right? It's just my perspective of things. And just looking at it, I see the Buggy. Buggy is so insane. He draws you events. He searches events. I'm going to play Crocodile. I'm very likely going to play Crocodile because the cards are just like, they are forcing me to play Crocodile. Holy shit, like they have so much synergy, so many good events, so many good searches, so many good cards, so many possibilities. So yeah, I will try one game definitely of Crocodile. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have at least one good Crocodile deck. I can't be that unlucky, right? To have no events at all in 2 pre-releases. So yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching the video. I will now, after taking a look at the cards, I will try to get into the game, into the OP03. Even though I'm a little discouraged, because like we have looked at the events right there, right? And especially purple events, basically non-existent. They are trash, absolutely atrocious. Like this one is just a replacement for Gum Gum Rain, does the exact same thing. So there's not really anything that empowers Purple Crocodile in this setup. And then we have the blue cards, which basically just got the 3000 worlds, which is basically just one dawn cheaper than the Lion Song from the event pack, which is 3 dawn -2, destroy 5-drop. This one bottom decks a 5-drop for 4 cost, which like basically means you're not paying the -2, but it's one more expensive. So yeah, in some way it's just basically the same card again, which means, yeah, blue didn't really get any support, and all the blue cards are Nami cards. You don't have anything, still don't have anything that can remove anything higher than 7, which means I'm still having to forced to use the Dofi if I want to remove everything, anything that's 7, and below maybe the Usopp, because it lets me draw cards and has a counter. But other than that, like, these cards are very, very bad. And on purple's side, these cards are very bad as well. Sure, we got one Rusher that might be somehow playable. Then we got the Zebra that is a banish. I love banish, so I might just turn into a banish stall out deck. That might work. But the problem with that is, I mean, 2 banishes actually, really good cards. But other than that, we didn't get anything. Purple Crocodile didn't get any support. You have the introduction of yellow, which has 8 cost removal. 8 cost removal that even puts stuff back into your deck, into your life, or removes something from the opponent. That's something that blue would have definitely needed, right? Why does yellow get it? I don't know. But I mean, I love the card. Then you got the 10-drop Big Mom, another big 10-drop that you can not do anything about, right? Like, once she hits the board, he gets a life, you lose a life, and he has a 12k buddy on the board that you can never deal with. Not even Hydra does anything because she's still a 9k. Like, how are you supposed to deal with that? You cannot. And since all the new cards basically want to empower the playstyle of slow playing, controlling the board, banishing the opponent's life with maybe Crocodile, with the Zebra and Kaku, and you cannot do that because your opponent just fills up life again, takes away your life, takes away your board. Like, the removal is insane. Like, you can't even... I play Dofi, and Dofi just instantly gets removed by this thing and Vista. Like, that's a 5 Dawn combo to remove my 7 cost 7k. Or my Crocodile, right? Like, you can never play the 7 cost Crocodile because he will never stick to the board. Like, this set, I was pretty sure that OP02 was bad for Crocodile, but OP03, I'm seeing the cards and I'm like, I'm losing hope, right? I'm so happy that 04 is around the corner and I only have to sit this out 3 more months, and then we can finally play Crocodile. I will still try doing so. We got a lot of ramp. Maybe we can cheese out something, out tempo something. Tempo is a very big strength of Blurple Crocodile, so maybe we can out tempo the meta. I will try it. I will do my best, but first look, things are looking very, 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 very bad. So thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think about it. I mean, I just started. I just woke up. I just sat here and just started talking. Maybe I need to try working around with you know, a script or something like that. Thinking what I want to say before I say it. But if everything makes sense and you're fine with or you agree with what I'm saying, then let me know that as well. It's just, maybe I'm contradicting myself sometimes. Sometimes I realize things while talking about things, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I actually think it's like that. So yeah, I'm just a human. I'm just a One Piece player, and that's the way I'm preparing for these events, right? I'm looking through the deck. I'm looking through the cards. Whatever exists. Put in all the 2K counters. Know all the events, and then just beat them by playing slightly better than them. So have a good time. See you around.